I was once a bridesmaid at a child marriage, story time. So many years ago, I was living with my mom and my siblings in a rented flat. My elder sister and I used to trek to school, which was quite a distance from our house. So we had a neighbor, a man, and let's call him Bro Peter. So Bro Peter used to work at a bank which was located some minutes right after our school. So at a point, he came and offered to my mom that he can be driving us to school every day on his way to work. So we're so grateful, my sister and I, my mom, everything. And so we would go with him in the morning, but in the afternoon, we would trek home. So at this point in my life, I was 13 years and in JS3. And this man would be perhaps in his mid to late 30s or early 40s, based on my estimation. So one day, Bro Peter came and told my mom that he was getting married and he would like me to be a bridesmaid. So I was like, is it bridesmaid or flower girl? Because he was way older than me and I was just a young girl. So there's no way I'm going to be a bridesmaid. From my understanding, bridesmaids are usually, people that are on their way to getting married, right? So the friends of a woman. So I was like, oh, okay. So he brought his fiancée to greet my mom. And when I saw her, I was flabbergasted. She was in SS3, just basically 3 classes ahead of me. And she was writing her senior WAEC exams at that point in time. So for me, I remember I entered university at age 17. And that is even after I had repeated a class. So you can imagine what her age was being in SS3, although she had, a chubby body. And you know how it is in our society. Once an average girl out there has body, as they call it, right? Men will start hitting on her and all that. They want to get her as early as possible and all that. And so that was her own situation. She was basically a child, but she just was chubby. When I saw her, I felt so sorry for her because I knew that the last thing on my mind at that point in time was getting married. It didn't make sense to me. I come from a background where my parents were educated on both sides. My father's siblings, my mom's siblings were all educated. So although I've heard about child marriage in the north of Nigeria and all that, for me, hearing it among Igbos in the east was strange. So during the time that they were doing her wedding preparations, her classmates, you just see them flocking to and fro Bro Peter's house. So we're living in a house that has 6 flats, and they were at the topmost. You see the girls, there was that excitement that their friend was getting married to a banker and all that. And I guess the vibe of her friend's excitement was rubbing off on her. But whenever her friends are not there, you see her, she's just frowning. And it's most of the times when I see her with that Bro Peter, going around and about trying to get ready for their wedding. So I also saw her mom sometimes, and that her mom was so invested in preparing for the wedding. Oh, my daughter, let's call her Amara. Oh, my daughter Amara's wedding, we have to do this. Oh, hello, yes, oh, hello, have you booked this thing? Stuff like that. The mom was so invested. And I just couldn't make sense of it. It didn't sit well with me. And thinking about it now, I wonder to myself why I didn't say no. And I come to realize that maybe there was that pushback in me, like if I say no, then maybe it will be considered as me being ungrateful because this man has been helping me. It never even crossed my mind that I could say I don't want to be a part of this. And then looking back to my mom, why didn't she say, okay, no, we don't want to be a part of it? You realize that in our society, there's that notion of when something is not right, especially if it's something that is accepted somewhat culturally, people will just be whispering, now wow, but nobody will be brave enough to come out and say, this is not good, and stand up against it. So I guess that was what the situation was, because we used to talk about it, we'll peep through the window and say, hey, yeah, now wow, but nobody had the mind to go and say to this man, this is not right and all that. And so on the day of the wedding, I attended the wedding as a bridesmaid. That was my very first time being a bridesmaid, and it was so awkward for me, but the only good side of things was that all the girls there were my age mates, right? All of them were her classmates and all that. And then the man, maybe he wanted to bring somebody from his side. That's why he brought me. So after her wedding, she got pregnant right after. And I would always see her, she'll be sitting on the balcony of the apartment alone and sad. And you know how those apartments, those flats are built? It's like there's, what's it called? There's the burglary proof. So she would just be there. And I just felt like it was a prison. Looking at her, I felt like she was in a prison. So shortly after all that, we moved out. So I didn't really get to see her have a baby and all that. But I never forgot about her. So looking back on this story, there are a lot of things that I find myself thinking about. Some people will be like, okay, maybe if a man or somebody is educated, they will know better. They will be able to make good choices and become great members of society. But you see that this man, he was working in a federally managed bank, right? A big bank, right? And so he would have been educated and all that. He had his car, he was doing well, you could see it on him. But for some reason, he felt like it was right for him to go ahead and cut the education of a young girl short and keep her at home, get her pregnant and all that. In other words, education does not erase the toxic conditioning of patriarchy when it comes to women or men. It is something that we have to intentionally realize that, hey, there's something wrong with this, and we go against it and we say we will not be a part of it. Another thing is this. I was a child, marriage had never crossed my mind at that point in time, but I just knew that there was something wrong about it. So it's never a question of maybe the person doesn't know. Nobody ever told me that child marriage was good or bad. I just knew intuitively, instinctively that it was not okay and it was not something I desired for myself. And I could see it in that young girl's face. And she couldn't stand up for herself. You could see like the sadness in her, even when her mom is taking her, they're going for measurements and all. You could see it on her face. The mom was the one that was motivating her and saying, you have to do this. So I would say that parents play a huge part. I don't think I ever saw the dad. The mom was at the forefront. So a lot of times, women are also the ones that promote and uphold misogynistic and patriarchal values. And these are things that we need to keep calling out. A lot of people are doing a great job calling it out here on social media, and we must never relent. Then another thing I want to say is this. Yes, as a family, myself, my mom, my siblings, we would just be talking about it. My auntie that was living with us will be talking and murmuring and complaining about it, but we never really spoke up. But on that day, they came for the wedding to see, now wow, this wedding. So what I get from that is this. If we never speak up, people, even if they're doing something wrong, they will just keep a brazen face and go ahead and do it. But if people, sign out and say, I'm not going to be a part of it, sorry, I don't have anything against you as a person, but I'm not in agreement with this, I won't be able to show up. And everybody stands up and says, okay, even though I'm not showing up, sorry, I'm not even buying that Shebi. I don't have anything against you, but I just don't, this does not vibe with my values. If we stand up and say we're not going to be a part of these things, then I feel like to some extent it can push people to become uncomfortable with doing those things. But once once there are still people in society, even if they're coming to say, oh, we're just coming to watch and see, now wow, this thing is bad, those people will just bone face and do what they still want to do. And we need to be active in discouraging these practices. And so finally, when I look back, I realized that I didn't even know then that I could say no, that no was an option for me to say. And so I participated in all that. I wonder where she is today. I hope she's okay. I hope she has found herself. I hope I don't know. But one thing I'm grateful for is that even though I couldn't speak up back then, I am out here putting myself out there, talking about these things and sensitizing women. And I do hope that more of us keep coming out, talking about these things, calling out all this wickedness against young girls. Let's keep saying no to child marriage. I believe that the more vocal we are about talking about these things, calling it out on social media, the more distasteful it will become. And hopefully we'll be able to push for more laws and enforcement of such laws so that these things will become a story of the past. Let's stop whispering in the back. Let's come to the forefront and let's speak. We're going to be labeled all manner of names and all that. But the truth is that the fight for freedom and justice is never a cute thing. It gets messy sometimes. So we need to become more comfortable and even excited about doing those uncomfortable things. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.